Amazon is offering sign-on bonuses up to $1,000, plus get up to $20 an hour for select roles. The best part? We're hiring near you. So start now to take home something greater. New, higher wages with a sign-on bonus, a range of real benefits, and career growth opportunities in a top-rated workplace. So earn more and see how great pay and sign-on bonuses can lead to a greater life for you. Go to amazon.com/apply. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.
You're listening to The Jake Asman Show on the Sports Map Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Jake Asman.
Our next guest is one of the best in the business when it comes to the NBA. He's now with Bally Sports as a national NBA insider. He is Brandon Scoop P. Robinson, and he joins us right now on our progressive guest line to talk all things NBA playoffs. Brandon, appreciate the time, and congrats to you, my friend. I'm very excited for your new job. Brandon going once. Hold on, Ron, you got to put the guest through. That's the key here. We now have Brandon with us. So, Brandon, once again, congrats to you, my friend. Thanks for coming on the show.
My brother, Jake, thank you so much, man. Can you hear me loud and clear?
We got you. We got you loud and clear, and it's great to talk to you, man, especially after what was a really exciting weekend of the playoffs. So let's kind of start big picture overall. What were your biggest takeaways from the first weekend of the playoffs?
The Milwaukee Bucks came to play. When you look at Chris Middleton and what he did on Saturday, I was quite impressed. And one of the reasons why I was because when you look at the Bucks overall, the Heat, specifically with Jimmy Butler, didn't come out hot. Jimmy got them in the overtime, and Middleton did what he needed to do. It wasn't just Giannis that folks were dependent on, the reigning NBA MVP. But when you look at the Bucks, they got some goons in a good way. P.J. Tucker is one of those guys. And also the Bucks brought in Drew Holiday in the offseason, and I thought that paid dividends during the regular season. But then also, when you look at the Portland Trailblazers, Melo came to play on Saturday, and it was the first time that he played against his former Denver Nuggets in the playoffs. They booed him. He produced. If I'm not mistaken, he scored 18 points in the game, but Damian Lillard scored 34 points in that game, and they play game 2 tonight. So those are two of the things that really impressed me, and I'm excited to see what happens this week.
Absolutely. So, staying with the Bucks, I mean, a lot of people who maybe weren't locked into them during the regular season are probably like, unless the Bucks actually do something in the playoffs, it's going to be the same old, same old. Do you get a sense, though, Brandon, that this team is different, and Drew Holiday being there makes that much of a difference for this team going forward now?
Yes, I do think that there is a difference. I personally did, in my column at Bally Sports that you can check out, I did have Miami as my pick in the playoffs, but they played spoiler in game 1. And what I'll say is specifically as it relates to Drew Holiday, this Bucks team needed to improve last offseason. Chris Paul is in Phoenix, but I do know that Giannis had Chris Paul on his wish list as well as Drew Holiday, and they were very close from getting Bogdanovich as well. But that ended up going left. But what I'll tell you specifically about Drew Holiday is he was one of the most highly coveted folks via trade during the offseason. The Nets were looking at him and actually had conversation with the Pelicans last year around the trade deadline. But I'll add that Drew Holiday, to me, fills a couple of roles. He can guard your team's best 1 or 2 player. He can shoot the 3, and he's a great court leader and has been since his days in Philadelphia and in UCLA. But I think the thing that makes Milwaukee such a potent team, in my opinion, and I think the Dallas Mavericks have this same complementary issue, is what they did in the offseason. I remember sitting down with Antoine Walker, retired NBA legend there with FS1, and, he talked about how, essentially guys like Luka need goons or guys that can help him. He doesn't have to just do all of the talking, all of the mouthing off to the refs, and also score and play defense and sell tickets. He has help in that regard. So when I look at Giannis Antetokounmpo in the same breath, he's got help. I didn't mention Bobby Portis, who has been an asset to that team this season as they continue to elevate. So I think that now is better than last year, because I think that you saw a lot of Giannis's weaknesses against Jimmy Butler and the Heat. The Heat are still the NBA's reigning Eastern Conference champions, but I do like what he early on, because it's not just Giannis. Chris Middleton definitely held his own, hitting a walk-off fadeaway with less than 1 second remaining in the game on Saturday.
Brandon Scoop B. Robinson with us here. You can find him on Twitter. Follow him there at Scoop B. Brandon, when you look at what the Lakers are in for here against the Suns, I know it's only one game, but how big of a concern should the Lakers feel? Should the Lakers be thinking after they lost Game 1 to the Suns, and obviously Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton completely outplayed both LeBron and Anthony Davis?
Well, I definitely think that when you look at the Lakers overall, the reigning champions had a small window to replicate or to defend their championship, I'll say, in Major League sports history. It was a short window because of COVID, and COVID affects everything. But I think when you look at the Lakers overall, it wasn't just the lack of rest. It was injuries. If I'm not mistaken, LeBron missed 27 games maybe. Anthony Davis missed about 36 games in the regular season. And then they add Andre Drummond, and you have guys like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and others trying to hold down the fort under Frank Vogel. One thing that stood out to me yesterday was you look at the stat sheet, and Kyle Kuzma scored 0 points on Sunday. That can't continue to happen if they hope to have success against the Phoenix Suns team, who arguably their general manager James Jones is potentially the NBA's Executive of the Year. I know Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets may have something to say about that in response, but the Phoenix Suns are no joke, and they did what they needed to do with Chris Paul, I think, only scoring 8 points and handing out 7 assists. I believe that was that line for him. But when I look at the Lakers, one thing that I think needs to improve in their rotation on Sunday is you got to give Taylor Horton-Tucker more minutes, one. I think he only played 7 minutes in that game. And what the heck did you sign Marc Gasol for? He needs some playing time. So I think rotation is going to be important in Game 2. DeAndre Ayton is a rising star. I've said that for a while, and I believe that to be so because where are all the big men in the NBA, and what do they do? And I think he definitely has the potential to be a top 5, big man in the league. But I also think Devin Booker, his footwork is insane. I saw one play with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope guarding him. He was on skates. Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding would be jealous of what he was able to do off that double axel spin move, coming off the post, getting to the basket. And so when Chris Paul wasn't on, Devin Booker picked up where he left off at. Ayton is a stud, as I said. And, they have a great supporting cast. Monty Williams has a good team. And I think that the Lakers, unfortunately, like many people in the NBA, like the Miami Heat, like the Celtics, succumbed to injuries as well as COVID, which is what put them in the seedings that they're in this year.
Brandon Scoop B. Robinson with us here, National NBA Insider for Bally Sports, talking all things NBA playoffs after the first weekend of the NBA playoffs. Produced more than a few upsets, and it produced a lot of really great moments and unbelievable endings to games, including what happened last night, Brandon, at Madison Square Garden. First things first, what did you think of the crowd last night? How cool was it to hear, the Knicks fans going crazy in the stands once again for a playoff series at the Garden?
I mean, it was great to see in New York City. Growing up, I split time between New York City and northern New Jersey, so for me, the Knicks are the local team. I still am very apprehensive as we're still sorting out facts and things going on with COVID. So I won't judge folks who have been there. Not my thing, but for those who, were vaccinated and, took those precautions, more power to them in that endeavor. But Trae Young was unstoppable. And in his first playoff series or his first playoff game, I know that he is listed amongst the greats like LeBron James and others who, put on a great performance in their first playoff appearance. The Atlanta Hawks have the same exact record as the New York Knicks, yet they're the fifth seed. I know the Knicks had the tiebreaker because I know that through 3 games this regular season, the Knicks did handle their business. The playoffs is a new game. Everybody starts out 0-0. And what ended up happening with Julius Randle, if I'm not mistaken, he only had maybe 14 points, and he was about, 6 or 23 last night, and that's not good. But I'll tell you what, Alec Burks was looking like new money playing against the Atlanta Hawks. But the Hawks, to me, have been overlooked. And I'll tell you, Clint Capella should get more consideration for NBA's Defensive Player of the Year. If I'm not mistaken, at some point he averaged 2.1 blocks per game. And, when you look at people like Ben Simmons and, others in the league, they've earned it. They're on the big stage. But not only does Clint Capella do work in the interior, the league leader in rebounds this season. And I look at the Hawks as a sleeper, and I look at Lou Williams as probably that move for Rondo worked out so well for both teams. And he gets his lemon pepper wings whenever he wants them. But when you look at the Atlanta Hawks at large, game 1 definitely was a filler game. I'd like to see this game go 6 games. I think this is going to be one of the most important series of round 1, and I like what happened yesterday.
As far as what the Knicks need to do in Game 2, Brandon, is as simple as, hey, the Hawks' best player was their best player. He played like it. The Knicks' best player, Julius Randle, really struggled, and obviously he's got to be a lot better if the Knicks are going to get back in the series.
Yeah, and I think I hope he will, but I'll add this. I feel like how I looked at the Lakers and the Suns as a feel-out game. I look at Hawks, Knicks in the same vein. I think the Knicks, they haven't played in the playoffs in a very long time. And as much as there was an excitement for that, they played spoiler. I also think that the Hawks are just that doggone good. Nate McMillan reluctantly took that position from Lloyd Pierce at All-Star break. And I think he's just been coaching great basketball. If it's not Trae Young, it's Danilo Gallinari. If it's not Danilo Gallinari, it's John Collins. Like, this team has some stars on that squad. And, but through the Knicks, I think that the Knicks, just have to really hone in on Trae Young. Do you put Frank Ntilikina on him? Do you put I think defensively you have to neutralize him. But I think he's just that good. Like, when you look at the Philadelphia-Washington Wizards series, for example, like Bradley Beal, I think, scored 31 points in that game last night, and Matisse Thybulle would frustrate him at times. But Bradley Beal still scored 31 in that game. You got to sometimes you got to let the best player get off, but if you can control other guys on the court and still get the win, maybe it's worth it.
He's Brandon Scoop B. Robinson. You can follow him on Twitter at Scoop B. He's now the new national NBA insider for Bally Sports, doing a great job covering the league and everything going on with the NBA. Brandon, appreciate your time, my friend. Congrats again on the new job. Great to catch up with you here for a few minutes, and I'm sure we'll do it again soon.
Brother, thank you for the opportunity to be myself, and you keep doing your thing. I'm proud of you.
And likewise, my friend, great to catch up there with Scoop B. I've been following his career for a long time. He does an excellent, excellent job covering the NBA, and he's getting rewarded with a big opportunity with Bally Sports, which is what it is certainly all about. Brandon, kind enough to join us there on our Progressive guest line, and drivers who save with Progressive save over $750 on average. Coming up next, we must get to the pandemonium at the Nassau Coliseum over the weekend, and Zach Wilson was involved in the madness. We'll talk about that next here on the Jake Asman Show.
Dinner when you make it. Shopping, chopping, slicing, dicing, cooking, casseroling, spreading, shredding, boiling, broiling, basting, pacing, carving, starving, timing, brining, whipping, dipping, peeling, pouring, measuring, marinating. Or simply order a ready-to-cook, ready-to-heat, or ready-to-eat dinner on our Order Express app and be done with it. It's ShopRite's fresh-to-table food experience, and it's forever changing dinner. ShopRite, helping you get it together.